I've started, so I'll finish. It's been more than a week, but welcome back for episode 2 of Predicting the Present of We fast forward in Football Manager 2011 and see what it tells us about today. Hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Dodgy Gamer here with the second episode in our mini-series of Predicting the Present. So finally got around to doing this for various reasons. I wasn't able to get this done as soon as I would like, but as I said I was going to do it, so here I am. What I've basically done, if you haven't watched the first episode, you should go and check that out. The link will be popping up somewhere now and it's down below in the description. I set this up, just ran a simulation of the game with some of Europe's top leagues through to the present day, to September 2019, which was the present day when I first had this idea, just to compare, to see how this Football Manager version of almost 10 years ago, it would have been good if I was able to do this for Football Manager 2010. I did have that in my Steam library, but it seems to have disappeared. I'm thinking because I had the hard copy of the game and added it to Steam, rather than buying it straight from Steam. Anyway, let's waste no further time and have a look at the leagues first. So we see the current Premier League season is underway and we see straight away some names up at the top that I'm sure their fans wish they were in this position. Sunderland, Fulham, Stoke are up there as well, but we're more interested in the past performances. So looking at the most recent season, it's Manchester United, who are still going strong in the game, who won it ahead of Manchester City, with Chelsea and Arsenal. Newcastle up there in 5th. Liverpool, of course, our real-life European champions, a bit further down. And Burnley, West Ham and Hull relegated last season. But when we look at the history of winners, we see Manchester City only have managed one title in this simulation, where, of course, in the real world they've been much more dominant. Manchester United picked up a couple, but it's mainly been Chelsea. Look at that, Chelsea picking up a number of titles, including 3 in a row from 2016 to 2018. Arsenal got a couple as well, which I'm sure their fans wish were the case in real life. Down to the Championship, we saw there the most recent winners, Leeds. So close to mirroring real life, I suppose. West Brom and Stoke going up through the playoffs as well. Wolves, unfortunately, not quite hitting the heights they have in the present day. They're stuck in the Championship, as are Norwich. We've also got Portsmouth and Charlton still up there. Leicester and Southampton, Watford, 3 teams that have had a good run of seasons in the Premier League, but in this alternative universe, they're mid-table Championship teams. And past winners there, we see Wolves have had a spot of time up there, but have come back down, unfortunately. Portsmouth as well, Blackpool, they've all been back up in the big time. Bristol City, they even made it up as well, but none of them really established themselves in the Premier League, it would seem. Just having a look at League One to see if anybody's dropped down. Brighton are down there. They finished 6th last season, so a bit of a stark contrast to the real world for them. We've got Swansea down there as well. Brentford narrowly missed out on relegation to League 2, but other than that, there's no real surprises there. Moving on into League 2, if I just set that to last season for you. Luton, who of course in real life have made it back up to the Championship, they're still wallowing in League 2 in this universe. Into the Conference, or the Blue Square Bet Premier as it was in those days. Look at that, Bournemouth were down there, and they've just made it back up again. Huge contrast to the real world fortunes for that particular team. And going down to the Blue Square Bet North for you to pause and take a look at. I am afraid I'm not too familiar with that many clubs, but we do see Bury Town down there. Poor old Bury, maybe that's worth commenting on. In this particular parallel universe, they're down in the Blue Square Bet North, the Conference North. And finally, just to complete the English roundup, we take a quick look at the Blue Square Bet South. As it was, I mean, no big names that have dropped down. Perhaps nothing, I'm a bit ropey on my non-league football of 9 seasons ago to comment on anything unusual here. Over we go then to Spain, where we see Real Madrid are the most recent champions with a whopping 102 points ahead of Barcelona. Then Valencia, rather than Atletico Madrid, who are hot on their tails. And in Italy, Juventus are not the top dogs. Mid-table, in fact. Inter have won the most recent title ahead of Palermo and Udinese, so quite interesting look to Serie A there. And Germany, of course, it's Bayern Munich who dominate no matter what universe you live in, it would seem. And in France, it's Lyon who are champions. This is, of course, a world where PSG have not been taken over by a super rich Qatari emir, so they finish 4th. Portugal, Benfica, Sporting, Porto, they're the top dogs. Nothing unusual there. And back to my old stomping ground of Turkey, Galatasaray reign supreme ahead of Kayserispor. My old boys Gençler Birliği there in 4th. Just having a look here at what seems to have been quite an interesting 2014 World Cup, where we can see Brazil lived the dream, got all the way to the final, won it on penalties against Portugal. Japan got all the way to the semis, knocking out Ivory Coast and Colombia in the knockout rounds. Scotland not only qualified for the World Cup, they made it out of the group stage, they beat Germany, and then they only fell to an extra time goal against Croatia. Quite a crazy World Cup. Just wondering what happened to England. Well, England, it seems, didn't even qualify. We had Northern Ireland there, who could not get out of their group with Croatia and Japan, 2 of the semi-finalists, so fair play to them. Ireland qualified, Scotland qualified, New Zealand and Canada were there in the same group, but no sign of England. England would, however, make it back with a vengeance at the 2018 World Cup, finishing 2nd in the group behind Serbia with Angola and Canada there yet again. No huge surprises in this World Cup, except perhaps for Russia going out in the group stage, which didn't quite mirror real life, and Belarus making it through. Scotland there for the 2nd World Cup in a row. Germany not making it through the group stage in the same group as South Korea, so pretty realistic. And then we see England made it all the way to the semi-finals, defeating Holland, beating Argentina on penalties before falling to eventual champions Mexico, who knocked out Brazil and Uruguay and France on their way to winning a first ever World Cup. Scotland made it through to the quarters again, where they were defeated by the French, so a pretty interesting looking pair of tournaments there. The England seemed to fare better in the European Championship, although they were in a group with Georgia, which probably made life a little bit easier for them. But it was Spain who would go on to beat Germany in the 2012 Euro Championship final, so in the end, mirroring real life pretty well. And then on to 2016 with the expanded format. We see England getting through their group again, although they might be a bit disappointed to only be in 2nd place there. Holland getting knocked out in the group stage, perhaps a bit of a surprise. Italy getting knocked out, especially in a group with Cyprus, Serbia and Bosnia. Big surprise. Spain eventually beating England on penalties. England getting past Belgium, Ireland and Switzerland, and Ireland-Scotland 2nd round match there. Again, looks like a decent tournament, but again, it's Spain that win. So, taking a look at that England team, we see this is one where Joe Hart is still the #1 goalkeeper, and then we've got people like Michael Mancian, Ryan Shawcross, Phil Jones, Jack Rodwell in there, all those players that Tom Huddlestone is in there, Henry Lansbury, if you remember him, Adam Johnson, if you remember him, Jack Wilshere, all these players that we were perhaps expecting big things from a number of years ago. Connor Wickham always seemed to be a great player back at this time. Look at that, 29 caps and 19 goals, playing for Chelsea. Whatever happened to this guy? A 33-year-old Wayne Rooney is still there, still at Manchester United, 136 caps and 75 goals. Harry Kane, did you say? Well, I found him. I found him at Crewe, uncapped. He's on $3,000 a week. Let's have a look at his history and see how he ended up there. Started out at Tottenham, had his loan spells, kept getting loaned to teams in League 1, League 2, eventually got loaned to Colchester, but didn't do well there, only 7 appearances and the 1 goal, and then he was back to the Division 2 team with Gillingham, and then sent on a free to Crewe, where he has played a part in getting them promoted, although only 6 goals last season. Harry, what happened? Speaking of Harrys, look at this guy, Harry Maguire. He's at Accrington Stanley. He just never made it to the top in this world, did he? So he started out at Sheffield, he transferred to Cambridge, played some non-league football, had a bit of time out on loan, before eventually getting a free transfer and regular football at Accrington Stanley, but League 2, it seems, is where Harry Maguire belongs. And another person who didn't quite make it, Kieran Trippier, in real life, flourishing at Atletico Madrid from what I've heard, but here he is at Cambridge City. Just arrived there on a free transfer. He's played a lot of time in League 2 and now he's in the Blue Square Bet North. Well, some things stay the same, whatever happens. Pep Guardiola still ended up at Man City, but here, if we look at his history, we see he stayed at Barcelona until 2013. He then took the Spanish national job, so he's been responsible for some of their recent success, leaving after the 2018 World Cup to take over at Man City, where he hasn't won the title with them yet. He hasn't won the Champions League with them yet, but he's won the Community Shield. We see here Jose Mourinho made his way back to Inter. Of course, he was there in real life. He moved on to Real Madrid, but did not last very long. He then had a spell at Man City. In this universe, did he win the Premier League with them? He did not, and then he was back to Inter, where he's been for the last 6 years and has, by the looks of things, been pretty successful. I probably should have had a look at the Champions League before doing the internationals, but we can see Barcelona have been pretty dominant. They have won 5 European Championships since this simulation began. Italian teams have done pretty well. AC Milan, Inter and Roma have all won it as well, but it's been dominated by teams from Spain and Italy. Well, Barcelona and Italy. A bit more mixed in the Europa League. We see we've had winners from England. Real Madrid have won it. I'm sure they just strike me as a team that would not be happy, really, about winning the Europa League. Leverkusen, Sevilla, Inter have won it as well, following their Champions League win. Genoa, Schalke, Villarreal, so all teams from the big leagues, but a nicer variety than the Champions League, perhaps. So there we have it. That was a quick look through the world as it could have been in 2019 if Football Manager 2011 had been 100% accurate. If there's anything you think I've missed or you'd like me to have a look at, I will be keeping this on my computer for a few weeks, so do let me know down in the comments, and if there's enough interest we might look into making another video. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I'm Dodgy Gamer. Please hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm Dodgy Gamer. See you again soon.